The late afternoon sun painted long gold lines across the quiet country road as three friends, Hamza, Bilal, and Saad, pedaled home after cricket practice. Their cheerful talk about heroic catches stopped when a sharp, lonely yelp rose from the ditch nearby. Skidding to a halt, they saw a thin brown dog lying on its side, ribs showing and one paw twisted painfully. Hamza gasped, because hurt animals always reminded him of the puppy he had lost last year to a speeding truck, a memory that still stung whenever he closed his eyes at night. Bilal wanted to hurry on, but Saad had already dropped his bicycle and was kneeling in the weeds. The dog's eyes were scared yet hopeful, shining like wet marbles in the fading light. A soft whine escaped its throat every few seconds, as though it were asking politely for help. Saad spoke gently, telling the dog it was safe now, and placed his cricket jersey over its shaking body. Hamza checked the road for oncoming traffic, while Bilal finally rummaged in his backpack for the small water bottle he always carried. The boys knew injured animals could bite, but the dog only sniffed the offered water and wagged its tail weakly. A warm wind rattled the dry grass around them, carrying the smell of distant jasmine fields mixed with the smoke of evening cooking fires from the scatter huts nearby. Hamza suggested calling a vet, yet none of them had any signal on their cheap prepaid phones. They decided to move the dog to Saad's house, which was closest and had an old rabbit cage that could serve as a safe nook. Bilal removed his sturdy cricket bat from its sling and slid it gently under the wounded paw like a splint. The dog whimpered but did not snap, as if it understood the strange wooden support was meant to help. Together they formed a shaky stretcher with two cricket bats and Hamza's thick hoodie, threading the sleeves through the handles so the cloth hung like a tiny hammock. As they raised the improvised cradle, they noticed the earth beneath the dog looked oddly sunken, almost like a shallow mound. A chill fluttered down Saad's spine, though the air was still warm, and he wondered what lay under that soft patch of ground. The three boys exchanged uneasy glances, their thoughts buzzing louder than the cicadas, but rescuing the injured creature felt more urgent than digging into any hidden secret buried beneath. With slow, synchronized steps, they began walking toward the narrow gravel lane that led to Saad's front gate, unaware of the shock awaiting them. Halfway to Saad's home, the boys stopped because the dog trembled so violently they feared the stretcher might tip and hurt it more. They laid the makeshift hammock on the grass beside the lane, and Saad dashed ahead to fetch his mother's wheelbarrow for easier transport. While waiting, Bilal knelt to stroke the dog's ears and felt the soil under his knees sink a little, like stepping on a sponge. Curious, Hamza pressed his palm flat and felt the soil dip deeper than the ground around it. He dug with his fingers and uncovered a square of rotting burlap stitched to something wooden beneath. The burlap smelled foul, a mix of damp cloth, sour fertilizer, and something that reminded Bilal of spoiled milk left out in summer, making his stomach churn. Saad returned to the creaky barrow, just as Hamza swept away another clump of weeds covering the burlap. Under the patchy covering sat a hinged wooden lid about the size of a small suitcase, its brass handle green with rust. The boys looked at each other, their faces shiny with sweat and excitement, wondering whether they had found treasure or trash. Saad suggested waiting for adults, but Bilal, bold as ever, said mysteries were for brave kids. They placed the dog gently in the wheelbarrow, where it curled into a ball, eyes following every move like a silent supervisor. Hamza counted slowly to 3, and together he and Bilal pried up the lid with the flat ends of their cricket bats, splintering the brittle wood and kicking up a ghostly puff of gray dust. A gust of cold, stale air hissed from the opening like a warning whisper from underground. Inside, the dim light revealed a cloth bundle tied with bright red ribbon, looking strangely new and tidy against the decayed boards. Bilal reached for it, but the ribbon unraveled on its own, releasing a heavy thunk against the side of the pit. The cloth fell away, and dozens of silver coins spilled out, clinking like tiny bells across the earthen floor. Among the coins lay a small black notebook, its edges scorched as if kissed by fire, and on its cover glared the embossed symbol of snarling wolf protecting a crown. Suddenly, the dog sprang from the barrow despite its hurt leg and barked the whole, tail stiff. Its bark turned into a howl so wild and deep that even Bilal felt the hairs on his neck prickle with ancient fear. A beam of sunlight hit something metal in the pit, and all 3 boys screamed at the sudden flash. The glare that shocked them came from a polished silver locket shaped like a tear, dangling on a broken chain just beneath the coins. Hamza carefully lifted it out, and the boys gasped again when they saw a photograph of the very same dog as a fat puppy inside the tiny frame. The photo showed the puppy beside an elderly man in round glasses, the date scribbled underneath, May 14, 2019. Saad realized the dog must belong to someone nearby, perhaps the old man in the picture, and hope sparked in his chest. Bilal, scanning the notebook, found pages filled with neat sketches of strange symbols and a map of their village marked with red X's. Each X circled a place where villagers had lost heirlooms, bracelets, coins, even the school's golden trophy. Saad flipped to the last page and read a hurried note. They will never find my hiding spot under the faithful guardian. The boys looked at the injured dog, understanding it was the guardian mentioned, and admiration replaced their earlier fear. Yet a bigger question gnawed at them. Where was the old man, and why had he chosen such a secretive method to protect belongings? Hamza wanted to call the police, but Bilal feared adults might accuse them of theft if they arrived holding treasure. Instead, they agreed to hide the notebook and lock it in Saad's backpack, planning to return everything once they located the rightful owner. They poured the coins into a plastic lunchbox Bilal found, then closed the pit and covered it with burlap again. The dog, calmer now, licked Saad's fingers as though granting permission for the plan. A distant rumble of thunder rolled across the sky, urging them to hurry home before the swollen monsoon clouds burst their heavy load. Saad's house stood at the very end of the lane, its warm red brick walls glowing in the dusky light like a lighthouse of safety. His younger sister, Zara, ran out to greet them, stopping short when she saw the injured animal and the boys' dirt-streaked faces. Zara sprinted inside to fetch their mother, Dr. Farah, a kind woman who volunteered at the village clinic and loved challenges. Dr. Farah cleaned the paw and made a sturdy splint with wooden rulers, cotton, and gauze tape. While she worked, the boys told her everything except the exact spot of the pit, keeping that detail for later. Dr. Farah nodded and promised they would visit the village records office at sunrise to uncover the old man's story. Morning sunlight floods Saad's yard, glittering on dew like diamonds as the boys gather with Dr. Farah and Zara for their expedition. The dog, now called Lucky, limps beside them with a bright blue scarf that Zara tied around its neck as a badge of courage. Inside the cramped office, shelves sag with dusty files, and the clerk, Mr. Qasim, peers over thick lenses at the muddy visitors. Dr. Farah explains they are looking for information about a man named Imran Malik, possibly the owner of the dog in the photo. Mr. Qasim shuffles through papers until he finds a file marked Missing Persons June, and his eyebrows lift in recognition. The file explains that Imran vanished 2 weeks earlier, last seen walking toward the foothills with Lucky and a heavy canvas bag clutched protectively to his chest. Police searched but found nothing except a torn strap near the canal, leading many to believe Imran slipped and drowned. The boys exchange wide-eyed looks, realizing the treasure pit was far from the canal, so the drowning tale seems impossible. Hamza shows the locket photo, and Mr. Qasim confirms the smiling man is indeed Imran, a retired watchmaker loved for his honesty. Imran's will mentions hiding priceless heirlooms from a greedy nephew who once tried to steal them. Bilal pictures that nephew harming Imran for gold, then hiding the loot beneath the loyal dog. Determined to uncover the truth, the group marches toward the hills where Imran was last seen, Lucky limping yet eager at the front. Lucky leads the way, pausing to sniff the air before pressing onward up the rocky path. Around a bend, they find a collapsed fence and fresh broken branches, clear sign someone dragged something heavy. Zara spots a scrap of canvas matching the bag described in the report, half buried beneath pine needles, and calls the others. The abandoned stone hut stands silent, its door hanging crooked, one shutter banging like a drum in the restless mountain breeze. Inside, dust floats like tiny planets above broken furniture, yet a single polished boot with shiny brass eyelets rests in the corner. Dr. Farah gently turns the boot over and finds Imran's name stitched on the sole, making Saad's heart pound with fearful hope. Lucky scrapes the earth and uncovers a creaking plank that opens to steep steps descending into darkness. With phone flashlights on and hearts thudding, they follow the brave dog down the hidden stairway. The wooden stairs groan under their weight, and the musty smell of damp stone thickens with each careful step downward. Hamza's flashlight beam wobbles, revealing walls lined with wooden beams, as though the hut once hid a secret cellar. At the bottom, they enter a chamber no larger than a classroom, its floor littered with rope, empty tins, and a flickering oil lamp. In the corner, behind a fallen cupboard, a frail figure lies bound at the wrists, gray beard tangled across his chest. Lucky barrels forward, whining with joy, and the figure turns. It is Imran Malik, eyes tired yet shining at the sight of his faithful guardian. Dr. Farah rushes to cut the ropes with her pocket knife while the boys steady Imran and bring water to his cracked lips. Through ragged breaths, Imran explains his nephew lured him here, demanding the key to the treasure map he had drawn in the notebook. When Imran refused, the nephew tied him and left, planning to dig later once the dogs stopped watching the hiding place. Imran tried to free himself but grew weak. Only Lucky's fierce devotion kept would-be thieves away from the buried loot. Saad pulls out the notebook and Imran smiles through tears, thanking the boys for protecting everything he held dear. Next they hear an engine outside. The greedy nephew has returned, unaware his secret is uncovered. Bilal dials the police while Zara hides behind a barrel, whispering the license plate to the operator. Hamza and Saad help him run up the stairs, but halfway they freeze as heavy boots stomp across the hut above. Lucky growls, an unbroken warning, while Dr. Farah stands firm at the top holding a rusted shepherd's crook she found for defense. The nephew bursts in, shocked to see the room occupied, yet before he can react, police sirens wail down the trail like angry bees. Cornered, the nephew tries to flee, but Lucky leaps and grabs his pant leg, giving officers time to cuff him securely. Imran emerges into daylight, blinking at the bright sky, and he kneels to hug Lucky, whispering thanks into the dog's floppy ear. Officers recover the stolen canvas bag from the nephew's truck, finding more family heirlooms and a handwritten apology letter he never delivered. As the police car drives away, villagers gather, cheering for Imran's safe return and for the brave children who solved the mystery. Imran invites everyone to his home for tea, promising to share stories about watchmaking, loyal dogs, and the importance of guarding what truly matters, love and honesty. A week later, the village square buzzes with celebration as Imran hosts a thank you fair filled with music, bright banners, and free sweet corn. Lucky, paw now wrapped in a proper cast, rides in a decorated wheelbarrow pushed by Zara, accepting pats from every delighted child. The boys receive handcrafted medals made from old watch gears, each engraved with the words courage and kindness. Imran announces he will build a public library using a portion of his recovered coins, because stories saved him when ropes and darkness almost won. Bilal blushes when the crowd chants their names. He never imagined bravery could feel so warm and noisy. Saad's father photographs the moment, vowing to frame it above the family dining table as proof that small choices create big changes. Hamza's lost puppy sadness finally fades, replaced by the sight of Lucky trotting beside him like a living promise that love returns. Dr. Farah gives a short speech about helping animals, reminding villagers that every street dog could be a hero in disguise. Even Mr. Qasim attends, donating stacks of unused notebooks so children can map their own adventures. The greedy nephew, now facing trial, sends a court-ordered letter apologizing to Imran and the entire village for choosing gold over family. Imran forgives him, explaining to the boys that forgiveness is another form of treasure that grows when shared. At sunset, paper lanterns lift into the pink sky, each carrying a wish written by the children for kindness to prevail everywhere. Lucky's lantern bears a paw print and one word, woof, which Zara translates loudly as thank you. Laughter ripples across the square like gentle waves, and for a moment every heart beats to the same joyful rhythm. Hamza remarks that an ordinary cricket practice turned into the best adventure of their lives, just because they stopped to listen to a single whimper. Bilal adds that screaming was not a sign of fear, but a spark that guided them toward truth. Saad promises to carry an extra water bottle on every ride, saying heroes should always be prepared. Imran smiles, eyes twinkling brighter than his polished watch faces, and declares Lucky the honorary mayor of the town for one day each year. The crowd cheers as Lucky barks in approval, tail wagging like a ribbon in the breeze, sealing the new tradition. And so the village learns that real treasure is not buried under earth, but grows within people brave enough to help a lonely dog on a dusty road. 1 month later, the new village library stood proud beside the banyan tree, its bright yellow walls smelling of fresh paint and promise. Inside, rows of polished wooden shelves held books saved from dusty attics and donated by grateful neighbors. Hamza ran his fingers along the spines, dreaming of oceans, stars, and secret codes hidden in quiet pages. Bilal organized a weekly comic swap so younger kids could trade heroes without spending a single rupee. Saad set up a small display that showed Lucky's purple cast, the scorched notebook, and a photo of the boys grinning beside Imran. Zara led Story Hour every Sunday, reading tales about kindness while Lucky snoozed under her chair like a furry footstool. Dr. Farah taught a first aid workshop in the courtyard, using stuffed toys to show how to splint paws and bandage wings. Each lesson ended with the same reminder: help is a language every creature understands. Imran tinkered at a big oak desk near the window, fixing clocks people thought were forever broken, letting their steady ticks fill the room with calm. Whenever a repaired clock chimed, visitors clapped, and Lucky barked once as if stamping approval. Tourists began to stop by, drawn by the strange tale of buried coins and the dog who guarded them. Local shopkeepers sold badge pins shaped like little wheelbarrows, and profits went toward buying new math and science books. The unfair nephew remained in jail, writing letters about honesty to children in distant schools as part of his sentence. The boys read one aloud and agreed that change, like time, moves in small but steady steps. At sunset every Friday, the village gathered on the square's stone stage to share achievements big or small, calling the tradition Lucky Hour. During the first Lucky Hour, Hamza revealed he had trained Lucky to respond to hand signals so even shy kids could give quiet commands. Cheered on by giggles, Lucky sat, rolled, and high-fived without a single spoken word, showing that friendship sometimes speaks in silence. Fireflies blinked around the lanterns, and the warm night air tasted of cardamom tea served from giant kettles. Standing there, Bilal whispered that the Real treasure was not silver coins, but the way the village now shone like a family necklace, each person a bright bead. And as the stars blossomed overhead, Lucky curled at the library steps, guarding stories, memories, and hopes waiting to be discovered by the next curious heart.